Welcome to Strickland's and Friends. Today I'm making an oil-free chimichurri sauce. What is chimichurri sauce? If you have never heard of chimichurri sauce, you're in for a treat. If you have heard of it before and have had it before, my guess is that it had a lot of oil in it. So traditional chimichurri sauce originated in Argentina, and the traditional recipe contains a lot of oil. And so it's like a half a cup in most recipes. And so I really like chimichurri sauce, but I thought, we've got to make this healthier without all that oil. So what could we do to replace the oil? So I have a couple of different options for you. Chimichurri sauce is a very flavorful sauce. It has a lot of flavor from parsley, from cilantro, from garlic, lots of garlic, and red or white wine vinegar. So it is, as you can tell just by those ingredients, it is a very flavorful sauce. So what I'm doing to replace the oil today is avocado. Now, if you want to make it completely fat-free, you could use aquafaba, which is the liquid from a can of chickpeas. So you could use that instead. It won't be as creamy, but it should still taste really good, and it will thicken up because of that aquafaba. But I'm going to use avocado, which, as you know, is a very temperamental ingredient. You know how I've seen memes where it shows they're not ready, they're not ripe, they're not ripe, they're not ripe, and then they're ripe, and then boom, they're too late. So hopefully I have these just right. I have a couple of backups, so when we cut this one open, if it's not good, then I have a few more. So let's check. One way to know if it's ripe is to just pull the stem out and look in the little hole that's left, and if it's a nice pale green, your avocado is probably ripe. So this one looks like it's probably ripe. So what I'm doing is setting it down flat, because you always want to keep the knife blade away from your fingers. And so I am keeping it flat and then putting the knife straight down into it through the stem and around the backside. And let's see, there's a little slice. Okay, so we'll cut it right there. And I have that cut all the way up, and we just turn and oh, look at that. Beautiful avocado. Woohoo, first try. Okay, so I'm going to get the pit out of here too. Lay the avocado flat and then pop the knife into the pit and spin, and it comes right out on the knife. Look at that. So we'll set that aside. And then I'm going to scoop out all of the nice green flesh into my food processor, because we're starting with a sauce. So traditional chimichurri has all of the herbs and seasonings ground up first, and then oil is added after that. But we don't want to do that. We want to, we're not adding oil. So I had to rethink how to do this. And so it has a sauce that we're making first. So I'm scooping all of the avocado out into the food processor. And then the sauce will have either red or white wine vinegar, and that is up to you. I like the white because it keeps the sauce green looking. When you add the red, it can kind of turn your sauce a little brown when you mix that red and green together, which is kind of an odd color combination. So, okay, so we have one whole avocado, and then that will go in the compost. And then we have a half a cup of white wine vinegar or red wine vinegar, up to you. I think traditionally it used red wine vinegar, but I've made it both ways. I like the white, so just as well. And then maybe 3 or 4 tablespoons of fresh squeezed lime juice. You could use bottled lime juice in a pinch, but I think fresh is always best. And just as a reminder, the best way to get the most juice out of your lime is to take it and roll it back and forth, pressing down on the counter before you cut it open. And then when you cut it open, you get a lot more juice out of it. So, okay. And you could even add some of that lime pulp to it too, to up the fiber content. That's great. All right. So I have in there already the avocado, the white wine vinegar, and the lime juice. So I'm just going to whirl that up and make it into a sauce. There we go. Okay, and then I'm adding 2 cups of parsley. So if you're making just one batch of it, it's 1 cup of parsley. Parsley is super healthy for you. So most people think of it as that garnish on the side of a plate, but it turns out parsley has a lot of really great benefits to it. So there's a lot of vitamin K, there's folate, there's vitamin C, there's iron. It has a huge amount of iron, and beta carotene. So super good for you. So we're adding all that parsley, and you want to probably remove the tougher stems, but you could put in some of the more tender stems. That would be fine. And then we have cilantro, which I have 1 cup. Cilantro is one of those things that some people really don't like. So if you really don't like cilantro, you could leave it out, add another cup of parsley, or maybe change it up and try some basil, because that would be really good too. So, and then I have, it's about 7 cloves of garlic, and you can cut down on the garlic if you want to, if you don't want yours quite that garlicky. Parsley is one of those things that's really good for your breath, but then garlic's not. So I guess it's a wash. And then we have a teaspoon of dried oregano and a teaspoon of smoked paprika and a 1/4 of a teaspoon of iodized sea salt. You can leave the salt out. So if you are on a salt-free diet, that's perfectly fine. Leave it out. This is super flavorful even without it. But if you are using salt, remember to use iodized sea salt, because we need iodine. It's an essential mineral in our diets. So now right here is where you get to make a decision. If you would like your chimichurri to be really smooth and creamy, then whirl it up for a couple of minutes until it becomes just a real thick sauce. And that's perfectly fine. But if you want it to have more of the chunks of, whole leaves still left in it, just pulse it a little bit. So if I get the lid on, there it goes. All right, so I like mine to have some texture to it and not just be completely pureed. So I'm just going to pulse it a little bit. Okay. We'll scrape it down and take a look. Oh my goodness, that looks so good. Okay, I think I'll give that one more whirl. And then if it seems too thick, you could add a little bit of water. That would be fine. It doesn't need much. Just loosen it up a little bit. Okay, we'll try pulsing that a little bit more. There we go. Okay. Oh, that looks pretty good. That smoked paprika is giving it a bit of a hue, but it still is mostly a nice green color. So, and then it still has some chunks in it. It's not completely pureed. So that looks really good. Now, in Argentina, when they serve chimichurri, it's typically served with steak. So we're not doing that. So what I'm going to serve it with tonight is cauliflower steaks. You could also serve it on tofu steaks, some grilled tofu steaks. That would be really, really good. Another thing that it tastes really good on is roasted potatoes, those little fingerling potatoes. Get them just completely roasted and tender, and then top it with some chimichurri sauce. And you can use, I have a couple different examples here. You can use flat leaf parsley. You could use curly parsley. So this is a curly parsley from my garden. And this is a flat leaf parsley. So it doesn't matter really if you use curly or flat. That's fine. And then cilantro looks very similar, doesn't it? So, and they are related, but the flavor it's a very different flavor profile. So like I said, leave out the cilantro if you don't like it, add more parsley, or maybe try basil because I think that would be really good too. Also with the oregano, if you have fresh, that would be great. And you would add 1 or 2 tablespoons of that. And mine all froze last night because we had a little freeze here last night. So we don't have any oregano in the garden right now, but I used dried and that's fine too. So, and you'll want to let it sit for a little bit for those flavors to marry. And then put it on some nice roasted vegetables, a good cauliflower steak or a tofu steak, up to you.